Let me introduce the next city. I've had the privilege and the honor of being at a few events with Mayor Woodside, and it's always a pleasure to be with him. He's a great proponent of the intelligent community, and I know in the next, I think it's the next year, Brad, a year from now, you will be president of 2 years, president of FCM, and really looking forward to the kinds of leadership you bring there. So let me turn it over to Mayor Woodside to talk about the city of Fredricton.
Thank you very much, John, and thank you to IBM for what you do for municipalities across the country. It's greatly appreciated. I'm very excited to be in the room with my premier today. I travel across the country extolling the virtues of what we're trying to do and trying to convince others to do it and others to learn from those that have done it. But to have your premier in the room with his vision and to see, as I say, we're rowing in the same direction makes it all worthwhile. And Mr. Premier, thank you very much for being here, and I know what your schedule is like. I think I've just discovered something, ladies and gentlemen. I've become somewhat of a conference sponge. What I mean by that is, when I fly home tonight and I have been to this day-long conference, if I don't learn something, then I haven't really achieved anything. And here's my whole point. You know, those who get it, got it, but didn't necessarily invent it. Stephen Jobs was wonderful in that respect. He took a whole lot of other ideas and he made them better. Had dinner last night with Mayor Ron from Riverside, and he was telling me back a few years ago he went out to Vancouver, and he learned something in Vancouver, took it back to Riverside. And then he told me, he was in Vancouver another time, and then he was in Edmonton. And I'm thinking, this is really how it is all supposed to work. When I was speaking in British Columbia back a short while ago at BCNet, at Simon Fraser, one of the speakers before I got up said, "Brad, we called Fredericton 10 years ago. I spoke to your IT people." He said, "That's why we are today where we are." And I keep hearing this over and over and over again, despite the fact that there is a lot of deficiency in what we do, trying to create a level playing field in terms of broadband for all of those. But just a few things about Fredericton, the capital of New Brunswick, a very small city, about 80,000 people, but yet Fredericton was the first city in Canada to offer free high-speed wireless. We created our own telco called Innovations. We sold it to the community and to the university because we were not competitive. And if you're not competitive, how do you attract business? Well, they were so excited that they bought into it. Some of them committed to 3 years in advance. And then we had enough left over in the pipeline to be able to give it free to everybody in Fredericton. And that was quite an accomplishment, and it happened quite some time ago. And to this day, I talk to my colleagues all over North America, particularly my friends from the United States, and who try and replicate this model, and it's very difficult because a lot of my colleagues in the States, including the mayor of Philadelphia, said, if we try that, we're going to be sued. And that just boggles my mind, why anybody trying to provide infrastructure so people are able to communicate more effectively would in fact be sued for trying it. Well, we also became the first city in Canada to have fiber optic, every home and business. And when I talk to other people and see what they don't have, I just thought everybody had this. And that's not quite the case. And now we're number 32 in the entire world. What is that, out of 30? Every time I go to a conference, which is almost weekly, we're losing ground. I'm reminded of all the countries in the world standing up to have a race. And the gun goes off and Canada's out there. And they do a great job, whether it's telecommunications, whatever it happens to be. But then all of a sudden the race is over, and where are we? We're at the back of the pack, 32nd. And that shouldn't happen. It should not happen. We have the brain power. We have the will. We have the passion. But we always slip after we start the race. And that's not acceptable. We have to get back up into a leadership position just as Fredricton has led in so many instances. I don't try and recreate the wheel. If there's something interesting that I find here, I take it back to Fredricton, and guess what? We're going to do it. You've done the work. I'll just take the idea and we'll implement it. Best practices. Ladies and gentlemen, I find it somewhat disconcerting that we can start out of the gate so quickly and fall behind so fast. In Alberta a couple of weeks ago, I did say that we need a national strategy. A national strategy which will get us working together as opposed to competing against each other. You have the broadband, you have the wire, you have everything going by the communities as you saw, those 4 trenches. That makes no sense. And you know, people that are trying to get that connectivity and working to be connected like the rest of us so they can communicate effectively with the world and do business and social and everything else, they don't care who's in the trench. They just want to be a piece of it. They want to be connected to it. So I'm hoping that through the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, that I, Canada, and all of the other groups that I've met with and talked with, that we can come together, work together, and present a national strategy that will provide connectivity for everybody across the country. As I say in Fredericton, I don't charge you to walk on my sidewalks. Why should I charge you to use the internet? Unlike hotels that'll take $24.95 off your room just for providing you with the privilege of using their internet. Come on. Give me a break. So there's so much to talk about and so little time to talk about it. They've asked for a couple of minutes. I'm going to give them a minute and 30 seconds. That's the best I can do because you need the time and I'm going to give it to you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's always a pleasure to be with you, to learn from you, to cooperate, collaborate, and make this country the best that it can possibly be. And it starts with a national strategy connecting us all. Thank you very much.